My name's Natalie Tomanchek, and this is our reflection number 6 presentation. So, a little introduction to our presentation. In this, we will be exploring the future of cities, urban life, and human settlements, examining where people will live, how cities will change, and some global population trends. In addition to that, we will be considering technology's crucial role in how urban spaces are shaped, and we will discuss creativity and speculative thinking from science fiction to imagine future mobility. So, over the Geographies of the Future crash course video, it explored global trends shaping where humans will live in the future, key drivers of change, including population growth, urbanization, and migration. It looked at how cities will require new infrastructure and planning strategies in order to adapt, and how technology may redefine mobility, housing, and city life. And then ultimately, it highlighted the importance of geography and anticipating future challenges that may be faced. Um, and then in this reading, the article used science fiction to kind of explore future urban possibilities. It imagines advanced technologies, it imagines advanced technologies like flying cars, automated transit, and smart infrastructure. It highlighted the gap between like real world urban planning and then futuristic visions of that same concept. It raised some questions regarding mobility, livability, and sustainability in future cities, and it kind of encouraged creative thinking to inspire practical and innovative urban solutions.
Howdy, y'all. My name is Jonathan Trevino, and for our final reflection video, I opted to do week 14's first two readings. So, starting off with Futurecraft, from the jump, the authors define Futurecraft as designing possible futures for cities, as opposed to predicting them, utilizing scenarios to spark debate and guide decisions. From the reading, we can see that cities as we know them are actively being transformed by revolutionary digital technologies, such as sensors, networks, data, and these are developing a new layer of bits over pre-existing physical infrastructure. Along with that, the authors also emphasize experimentation through real-world urban prototypes, like tracked trash, sensor bikes, smart mobility, etc. Ultimately, a smart city depends on smart citizens, meaning open data, public participation, and bottom-up innovation are required for a coherent experience. Now, for Parag Khanna, where on Earth will people live in the future? To start, future population patterns are going to be shaped by climate change, making some regions less habitable, which will kickstart large-scale migration. We can already kind of see the results of this even today. The need for migrants, as a result, is going to rise in nations with aging or shrinking populations, creating incentives for more open mobility. So these nations in question would be nations like Japan that have an average age that is pretty elderly considering their numbers. Additionally, Kana contends that human mobility is crucial for adapting to global economic and environmental challenges. And then finally, he advocates for viewing migration not as a global crisis, but ultimately as a solution, encouraging nations to embrace and prepare accordingly for large-scale demographic transition. Or in other words, migration benefits both sides because for aging or shrinking populations, they get to make sure that their country has a future and has people to replace them. And for the migrants, they have land that they're going to eventually be able to live in that's habitable. Thank you.
Howdy, my name is Victoria Now, and the first video I will be going over is The Future by Futurists by Richard Watson at the University of Cambridge in 2021. Watson explores how the world is likely to change over the next few decades, particularly in the realms of energy transition, technology, society, and environment. He discusses throughout the video how all these factors turn into future perspectives. Energy and resource transition. Watson emphasizes that moving away from fossil fuels and dealing with resource constraints in renewable resources would be the ultimately way to go. Technology acceleration and convergence. We've seen technology advance at a rapid pace in the last few years, especially in AI development, but progress isn't always linear. Social and demographic shifts. The population aging in cities or in certain demographics create different pressures like employment, education, and housing. Uncertainty, complexity, and scenario thinking. Instead of trying to predict what the future in that city might look like, we should build the city with the capability for multiple futures. Ethical and human-centric concerns. As much as tech resources matter, Watson reminds us to keep the human element, values, meaning, purposes, and fairness. The next video I will be talking about is The Future of Cities by O. Boyson. The future of cities shouldn't be about the immediate expansion of communities or futuristic technology, but about the people who live in them. The video argues that cities around the world are changing rapidly, but the most successful towns or cities focus on public places, walkability, transit options, sustainability, and community involvement. People-centered designs. Cities work best when they prioritize human needs, not cars or corporate tech. Mobility choices. Walkability, bikes, public transit, and micromobility make cities healthier and more accessible. Equity and inclusion. A future city must work for everyone, especially in lower income communities. Sustainability and resilience. Urban areas must adapt to climate change, population growth, and resource limits. Public space matters. Parks, streets, plazas, and shared to drive social life and community belonging. Smart tech equals tools, not the ultimate goal. Data and sensors are useful, but the tech shouldn't serve. But the tech should serve the people, not replace human scale design. We should also have bottom-up solutions. Local citizens and communities create the most effective long-term change. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Rylan Weatherford, and I'm doing the conclusion. We've seen how the future of cities and settlements will be shaped by shifting populations, new forms of urban life, and evolving ideas about where people choose to live. Technology's growing influence on city design highlights how innovation will guide the way our urban spaces function, connect, and adapt over time. By exploring creative perspectives, especially those inspired by science fiction, we've used imagination and speculative thinking to consider what future mobility and city living might look like. Altogether, these ideas help us to better understand how cities can continue to grow in smarter and more sustainable ways. Thank you.